Hello, my name is Sofia and this is the walkthrough to the OSINT Olympics 2026 challenge. And before you ask what the hell are the OSINT Olympics, I cannot tell you. Sorry about that. What I can say is that I was invited to create a challenge for this event and this is the result. On my website, you can find a number of other OSINT challenges and exercises to practice your skills. If you have not attempted to solve this one yet, you can find the link in the description and give it a go first. If you're here because you have completed, well done. You should be very proud. This was a hard one. If you're here because you want to find out how to solve it, I hope you find this video useful. Without further ado, welcome to the OSINT Olympics 2026 challenge task briefing. The photo on the right contains clear evidence of having been taken on a cold evening, but that is just the tip of the iceberg, pun intended. Hiding amongst the details is enough information to uncover so much more. Your task is to identify the exact date on which the photograph was most likely taken. Click here to open the photo without a frame on a new tab. And look at that, so big, so much details. Let's go back. So the first thing we're going to look at is the frame, which for full disclosure, I added because I felt that just a photo on its own would have been a bit too hard. Still possible though if you wanted it. But I was aiming for a challenge that could be solved in a maximum of 90 minutes, so I chose to include a few little hints. Let's check them out, right? So first we have the -9, very likely referring to the fact that it was -9 degrees Celsius here, which is very cold for my standards. Underneath we see tagged, sad, so cold with a lot of O's, winter and pandemic. How interesting. However, if at this point you thought to yourself, aha, winter, pandemic, I got it, we're looking at the peak of COVID-19 in the early 2020s. No, bad OSINT, don't do that. First rule of any investigation, do not draw your conclusions before the analysis is done, and we haven't even analyzed anything yet. So if this was your first guess, I fully get it, it does make some sense. However, if this was your final guess, then I hope you keep watching because we're going on an adventure and it's not going to end up where you think it will. So buckle up, let's analyze the image. So what do we see here? The photo appears to have been taken close to midnight local time. At 23:47, this location was registering -9 degrees Celsius. So again, very cold. The digital sign placed at the top of an arch also contains the letters KL with a dot. However, it's not immediately clear what this could mean, but that's fine. We don't need it for now. The sign also has the letters MCH, which hopefully will be useful. However, we're going to ignore all of this and we're going on a little crazy adventure, which I shall name Snow Analysis. Snowing. It doesn't actually exist, I just made it up. But we're going to look at all the details of this beautiful white layer, think about what they mean, and draw some very, very meaningful conclusions. So first, let's establish a few things regarding snow. This will be obvious for people who regularly experience it, but perhaps less obvious to those who don't. Snow falls from the clouds. It's usually fluffy, and when it lands, it stacks and gets higher. It remains as such until A, it starts melting, or B, it gets compacted by something such as people walking on it. In both cases, it will go from fluffy and opaque to shiny with a top layer of ice and turn slippery. With that in mind, let's look at the snow in this photo. Some areas have a very tall layer here, some are partially melted, and some have no snow at all. It's safe to assume that the stairs, for example, were clear to ensure people wouldn't trip and fall. Therefore, this taller section of snow here might be the byproduct of this clearing activity. However, most of the snow we see in this photo has a much thinner layer. It's shiny and is showing signs of having started to melt already. Look at this bit here. And what melts snow? Heat, mostly, isn't it? So based on the location and the appearance of the snow in this photo and other details, of course, we can establish that first, this here in the back is a road, and there's also going to be a road here out of the frame. So this street sign is facing this way, indicating that the vehicles will circulate that way. We see no snow on this section, meaning it was either cleared by the city or by the cars driving by, because motor vehicles produce heat and heat melts snow. So we're looking at the road here. Also on this section, we see a traffic light, some bike related street signs, and melting snow, which implies that the person taking the photo was also near a road. But this is not all the snow is telling us. And now stay with me as I try to explain my thought process. When I looked at this photo, I asked myself, why is the snow in this area here in the front so different from the snow in this area in the back? We can see how it looks like the snow starting to melt from this direction inwards, but it didn't reach there. And not just the snow on the ground, it was also the case with the snow on higher ground, such as here. So melting here on the side and the top, but not on the bits we can see in the back here. I reckon that this was the result of direct sunlight. Let's think about it. We know that during the winter, the sun moves across the sky on an angle. And I'll show you what I mean, because if we Google winter sun path and look at the images, here we go. Let's click that one. This is how the sun moves during winter. Not across the top, but across a much lower angle. Therefore, based on the snow visible in this photo, I reckon that, and I need a little tool for this because it's going to be worthwhile. Now, let me just divide this more or less like that. So melting snow, not melting snow. I believe that, let me see, the sun was hitting this bit and it was melting the snow here and so on. But it would have hit this bit and poof, bounce back. You cannot go past it because we can see that nothing was melting here. So this bit here was casting a shadow there. So let me clear this up because I'm not done yet. I'm still going. Wait a second. So with this in mind, and remember the sun moves on an angle like that, I reckon that this was east, this was west, and we need to draw a line which is like 90 degree. We're not great at this. Let's just assume this is 90 degree. This was north and this was south. What the hell can we possibly get the cardinal directions at nighttime? Maybe we do, and I will prove it to you. In the meanwhile, we need to cancel this because first we need to actually geolocate this photo. So there are two good ways to do this. We can either do an image reverse search with the keyword MCH that we see here, and it will immediately identify the place, which is easy enough, or we can just use some keywords on a search engine like Google. For example, we see MCH and KL that we still don't know what it stands for, so let's just Google that. And here we can see some mentions of Malaysia, which doesn't really get snow, so we can skip that one. And then we have this DK website, which is in Denmark, which makes sense because you would expect snow in Denmark, isn't it? And it does say MCH Herning Congress Center. I have no idea how to pronounce that. I didn't even try, I'm sorry. So let's check this one out. It seems to be a website with lots of events, but we need to find out the location. So I reckon that here at the end where it says contact is the right place to start. Here we go, the same words that we saw on that search result. So let's just check this address on Google Maps. Here we go, Google Maps. Let's check it out. Let's see, street view, anything interesting around here. And look at that, we have geolocated a photo. That was super easy though. But we're far from being done. We need to still chronolocate it. However, let's go on a small detour because I want to show you how this snow analysis, SNOWINT, that resulted in the cardinal directions was indeed correct. So I'm going to show you here. I already have it, obviously. So this is the same place as this one. I'm just going to prove it to you so you don't think I'm messing. So here we go. So you can see this is a big triangle here, like a big pyramid kind of thing. And there you go. This is the same. So we're going to rotate the camera. So we're facing more or less the same direction that we were facing on the photo. Where do I even have the photo now? Here we go. There's an arch with an angle and we can see the buildings here on this corner. Remember, there was a road here, definitely. And there was definitely a road here as well. So we can see road there, and we're going to angle. So it's more or less there facing the building here. And look at that. Is it not what I predicted? North to that side, east to the bottom here, west to the top, and south to the bottom. Look at that, SNOWINT. Anyway, let's go back to Google Maps. Here we go. Okay, street view again. And this way, let's go a bit closer. Now we can quickly compare this image with our photos. Here we go, side by side, and we can compare the scene from our street view and the one from 2025. It says here, May 2025. There are a few things that are different though. So this sign here with the bike is gone, it's no longer there. We also cannot see this sign here in the back, also gone. And the logo is slightly different. This one is a bit thinner. This one is a bit chunkier. The letters, different font perhaps. Not much different, but it is a bit different. However, the big difference is the building here in the back. Let's go closer to see what is this building all about. It seems to be a restaurant. However, if we look at the photo from the challenge, this was most definitely not a restaurant. In fact, based on this picture and this picture, these two ones, I would say that this was likely a hair salon. So if we know that this business here in the back was not a restaurant when the photo was taken, then surely we just need to go back in time enough until we see a hair salon here again instead of a restaurant, right? I mean, it sounds easy enough. We can just check more dates here on the street view, and then we can go as back as possible. And damn it, okay, the restaurant was already here. But okay, at least we have established that our photo is most definitely older than June 2012. But how much older? So now what we need to do is to find out between which dates there was a hair salon in this location. And how do we do that? We just Google it again. We already have the most important piece of information, which is the full address, because both the restaurant and the hair salon share the same address. So by knowing one, we know the other. And we know the restaurant's address because it's just on Google. Let me just, click the restaurant. Is there a way to click the restaurant from here? I will click the restaurant here. That's fine. And I'm going to copy the address and I'm going to paste it here. We have the address. But if we're going to try to find information about the hairdresser, we need more than just the address. We'll need something like the words hairdresser or hair salon or something like that. We know this was in Denmark, so we can just open a tab. Let me open this, and we're going to open Google Translate, and we're going to translate hair salon to Danish. You can also translate hairdresser, it works the same. So perfect. So now we have the what, which is the hairdresser, and the where, which is the address. So I'm going to put some quotation marks here to make sure that it doesn't separate the numbers. I'm not going to need Denmark, so that's it. That is enough. And we're going to search for that, and we're going to go down. And we have here some results from citymap.dk and herningein.dk. Okay, we can test both. The other one is still loading, so I'm going to go with this one and search for 29. So here we go. This, oh, it's so tiny. Let me just make this a bit bigger. Oh my God, 400%. 29. So on the address of the restaurant was a hairdresser or hair salon, whatever the hell you call it, called Hair Design for You. That means that this hairdresser here, this business was very likely called Hair Design for You. Now we just need to find out when did this Hair Design for You close down, because the challenge photo could not have been taken after that date, right? If it wasn't there, it wouldn't have been visible on the photo. So many countries have publicly accessible databases that track changes in businesses for transparency purposes. Not all, of course, but many have that. We can try to find out if Denmark is one of those by searching for something like how to find information about a business in Denmark. Easy enough, right? Why complicate things with paid tools, paywall platforms, or fancy AI? Just Google it. So according to the results, which I'm going to zoom in, it says here the Central Business Register, CVR, is the Danish government's master register of information about businesses in Denmark and Greenland. Brilliant, that is exactly what we needed. So if all businesses in Denmark are on this CVR, then surely Hair Design for You will also be on it. So let's prepare a new search string here with the information we have and also the information we need. So first we have the who, which is the name of the business. Then we have the where, which is the address. Let's put it here. And lastly, we're going to put CVR because that is what we're looking for, right? And we're going to open another search and we're going to search for that. And here we go. We have only 3 results. That's fine. We only need one that works. Let's click the first one. Okay. And let me translate this to English. Apologies to my Danish viewers that probably would have preferred Danish. Okay. So right at the start, it says 2019, but we know that the hair salon was not on the address to search for after 2012 because Google's oldest street view showed that the restaurant was there instead. So let's quickly search for the address. Here we go. And it says here, let me zoom again, that on the 28th of February 2010, it was removed from this location address. And on the next day, on the 1st of March, it moved to door number 27. So it kind of just moved 2 doors up. Okay, so this tells us that the photo from our challenge must have been taken before the end of February 2010, when Hair Design for You was still located here, because after that they were gone. Now, when did they move into this location? Let's check it out. 1990. What the hell? Okay, how do we narrow this down? 30-year date range is way too much. But there's still some things to analyze. Look at where are they? The hashtags, Remember the hashtags? We need them now. One of them says pandemic, and pandemics are not too frequent, are they? And I hope I didn't just jinx us all, and I apologize to the future of mankind just in case. Okay, so let's Google something like pandemic Denmark before 2010 and let's see what it says here. So it talks about Hong Kong, that's not what we want here. And it starts talking about pandemic influenza A from July 2009 to February 2011. That's very interesting. And if we keep going, it talks about 2009-2010 winter season with the system monitoring the burden of the pandemic. And this is about the pandemic influenza A H1N1. So could this photo have been taken during the influenza pandemic of 2009-2010? And if so, between which dates did it affect Denmark? Let's search for something like pandemic Denmark A H1N1, which is the official name for it. And it says here, Denmark experienced 3 waves of the new pandemic, influenza A, from July 2009 to February 2011. Okay, that's good. We already have enough information to narrow this down even more, don't we? We know that the photo was taken during winter, so let's just scrap July and move our starting point to the end of 2009. And we know it cannot have been taken after March 2010 because the hair salon was gone by then. So this means that our photo, this one, must have been taken between December 2009 and February 2010. And why December? Because if we Google when does it snow in Denmark, we'll see it say that mostly it snows between December and February. So we went from not knowing when this photo was taken at all to already narrowing down to 3 months. How cool is that? Pun intended again. Right, so we're on the final stretch now. The end is near, and I hope it's not another pandemic. There is one crucial piece of puzzle that we haven't used yet, and here it is, the information on the digital screen. -9 degrees Celsius at 23:47. With some luck, there was only one day between December 2009 and February 2010 that registered this temperature at this time and in this city. And we know that there are websites out there that collect and display this type of data. So let's try to find out one by searching for something like historic weather Herning. We need a website that has been logging the temperature of this Danish city since at least 2009. So let's try the first one. It's as good as any. I'm not fussed. Okay, at the top we can confirm that the data is from the correct place. So Herning, Denmark. And here we can select the month. So can it go all the way to December 2009? It can. Amazing. And does it have daily and hourly data? So here you can show the weather for all the days. So let's just, click the 2nd December 2009 just for the sake of it. Scroll all the way down and it does have 2350, which is close enough to 2347, but it's not -9. So we were not lucky on the first time around, which is fine. I was expecting that. So now I'll spare you the trouble of watching me check each day individually and we'll just go straight to the correct date. But this part does require some trial and error. Not much because we have narrowed down quite a lot by now, but sometimes that's just how it works. So we're going now to January, so not that far. We're going to scroll, we're going to select the 2nd January 2010 and we're going to scroll again all the way to the bottom. We're going to see that on this date at 2350 it was -9 degrees Celsius. But wait, I'm going to prove to you that this section here was shaded by this arch when the sun was out. First, we need to confirm the sun was indeed out during the day and we can scroll up and we can see that yes, it was. Let me zoom it a bit. It was here partially sunny, scattered clouds, and partially sunny between 2 and 250, more or less. So around this time. And now we're going to suncalc.org, which is a great tool for chronolocation. I'm going to put here the location which we have geolocated. I'm going to change this to satellite so you can actually see it. I'm going to zoom a bit more. I'm going to put here where the arch is, and I'm going to change the date to 2010. January the 2nd. Here we go. First of all, we can confirm that yes, the sun was moving around this bottom here as expected. And we can also see that around 2 something, when the sun was out, it was casting a shadow on this section here where this bit is located. But we're not done yet, because look at that. We can see the length of the shadow is about 7 meters. And now we're going to the map. Where do I have Google Maps? And let me zoom out this a bit. Let me take this. I don't need this anymore. I'm going to see what is the distance between here, the arch, to more or less there. So remember, we're looking to aim for this bit more or less here. So in front of this thing, not too far from the path and the tree and whatever not. So about there, 7 meters and something. Here we go. So if we go here, how cool is that? Snow ant. Here we go. I hope you enjoyed it. This photo actually has an interesting background story if you want to hear it. Basically, I lost a bet. I flew to Denmark. I ended up in Herning of all places. I took this photo whilst walking around outside close to midnight. And then I caught the H1N1 virus whilst I was there. I got very, very poorly, but I was told not to go to the hospital as they were trying to contain the virus, and I don't remember much because I was barely coherent during that time. Overall, I ended up staying in Denmark for 3 weeks because I was not allowed to fly back due to traveling restrictions because of the pandemic. So I had to get better before I could board the plane. I most definitely overstayed my welcome, and my journey back was very stressful because I was trying very hard to look healthy and not cough. I was good already, but I just looked a bit, not great. Anyway, fun times in Denmark. I'm sure it's a lovely place during non-pandemic times, so maybe one day I'll go back. Anyway, thank you for listening. Have a great week.